One of my favorite Linux distributions over the last couple of years has been Manjaro. I love Manjaro. I've run Manjaro many times on my main production machines. I've run it on my laptops. I've installed Manjaro on physical hardware probably at least 20 times in the last couple of years. I've installed it in a VM dozens of times. And I can't say enough good things about Manjaro as a project. It's one of the reasons I promote it kind of heavily on the channel. And today I'm going to take a look at a version of Manjaro that I've never looked at before because, to be honest, I didn't know they made this version. So they have a community edition based on the Awesome Window Manager. I love the Awesome Window Manager, so let's take a look. So the first thing I want to just briefly talk about is the reason I'm making this video today about Manjaro's Awesome Window Manager Edition is because this week on Big Daddy Linux Live, those of you that are not subscribed to Rocco over at Big Daddy Linux, be sure to subscribe to him. Great guy, great channel. Anyway, he does a weekly show every Saturday night where he invites anybody from the community. Anybody's free to join him live on camera in a video conference, and they review a different Linux distribution every 2 weeks. And for the past 2 weeks, the distribution they're reviewing is Manjaro. So that's why you've seen several Linux YouTubers in the last few days cover Manjaro. It's why I'm covering Manjaro today, is I wanted to take part in the discussion over on Big Daddy Linux Live this Saturday night. So I'm going to cover Manjaro Awesome Window Manager Edition, and because it's a version I've never taken a look at, but I do have to warn you guys. If you're interested in taking a look at their Awesome Window Manager Edition, do not go to the main Manjaro download page at manjaro.org. Typically where you'd go grab an ISO is you click the editions, go to Community Editions, and then right here, Awesome 18.0. That's the version. Now that version is very old. That ISO was released November of 2018. That's 11 months ago. 11 months is an eternity for a rolling release distro. For an Arch-based rolling release distro, I'm telling you, you can download that thing, but as soon as if you're able to get it installed, you're probably looking at nearly 1,000 packages for an update after that. It's almost certainly going to have some breakage. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Trust me, somebody that's run rolling releases for a long time, I would never try to install an ISO that old. So I dug around on the Manjaro forums a little bit, and I came across this post from about 5 months ago. So July 18th of this year, they released Manjaro Awesome 18.1.0-RC4 off the testing branch. And this is actually based on Manjaro XFCE 18.1.0-RC4. So, but it's a fresher ISO. It's just 4 or 5 months old as opposed to 11 months old. 11 months old is not going to work. Don't even try it. Go grab this ISO. I'll be sure to link it in the show description. So I'm going to take a look at Manjaro's Awesome Edition. I'm going to install this inside a virtual machine. So I downloaded that ISO. The ISO was 1.98 gigs in size, right at 2 gigs. All right, so when you get to the boot screen here in Manjaro, you have settings for time zone, keyboard layout, language, driver. By the way, the driver says free. You can change it to non-free if you want, and change it back if you need. Here in VirtualBox, the free driver will be just fine, but sometimes you do need that non-free driver. I have had problems with this in the past. Having installed Manjaro many times on physical hardware, I can tell you on very new equipment, like when I first bought this main production machine I'm on now with the Radeon 7 graphics card, and I tried to boot into some versions of Manjaro, maybe the ISOs were a little older, they did not have a driver that would work with that Radeon 7. I couldn't get anything to come up. Once I tried to boot off the ISO, it would just be a black screen. It didn't matter if I chose the free driver or the non-free driver, so just be aware of that if you're on really, really new hardware. Sometimes that can be an issue. It's not going to be an issue today in this VM, and most of my equipment now is old enough. It probably wouldn't be a problem on any of my machines at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and boot directly off the ISO. It'll probably take a minute or two for this to come up. It's been nearly 2 minutes and this thing still hasn't booted off of this ISO. You can see I have a start job that's running for Live Media Pac-Man Mirror Ranking Script. So it's a mirror ranking script to sort your mirrors for Pac-Man, which is Arch's package manager. It's also Manjaro's package manager. But it's been running for over 2 minutes now, this start job. I'm kind of concerned. I give it another minute or two and see if it finally boots. If not, I may have to give up on the Manjaro Awesome Edition and maybe pull down a different community edition. Alright, after about 3 minutes, that start job, that ranking of the mirrors finally completed. So it did boot up. It just took a little longer than what booting off a live ISO typically takes a minute, sometimes 2 minutes. That was a little longer. That was a little over 3 minutes. I was getting kind of worried. Now we're at the login screen here. This is Light DM. I'm being asked for a password. I hate this. On a live environment, I should not have to type a username or a password because what's the password, right? If I just hit enter, will it just let me in? No, I actually have to type a password. I'm going to take a guess. The password's probably Manjaro. I hope it is anyway. Did I type that right? I better retype that. Alright, and the good thing is we got a full screen resolution. The live environment actually looks really good, but I'm not going to play around in the live environment. I want to actually get this thing installed, so I'm going to right click on the desktop because in Awesome Window Manager you do have a right click menu similar to like OpenBox's right click menu. And if I search for the installer, I'm just going to take a guess and assume it's going to be under System Tools. And it is. Install Manjaro Linux. And hopefully that launches our installer, which Manjaro uses the Calamares installer, great installer. And we're at the welcome screen. I'm going to click next. I'm going to rush through this. It correctly chose the central time zone for me, so I'm just going to click next. Keyboard layout, it has chosen English US. That's correct for me. I'm just going to click next. Partitioning, we can give the whole disk of this VM to Manjaro, or we could manually partition if we needed to. I'm just going to choose erase disk and let Manjaro have the entire 15 gigs of this VM that I created. Then I'm going to click next. Alright, then we need to create our username. My name will be DT on this machine. Then we need to choose a password, a strong and complicated password for the DT user. Alright. Do we want to log in automatically without being asked for a password? No, for privacy reasons, I want to enter my password when I log into my computer, so I'm not going to tick that on. Do I want to use the same password for the administrator account, the sudo account? Absolutely. That way I don't have to remember two different passwords. The password for the DT user is the password for the sudo user as well. Then I'm going to click next. This is our summary page. Location looks good. Keyboard looks good. Partitions look good. I'm going to click install. And it's warning me it's about to format the drive and write to the disk. You know, there's no coming back from this once I press this button. I'm going to go with it. Alright, now the installation begins. Typically, this portion of the installer runs between 5 and 10 minutes, so I'm going to pause the video. I'll be back once the installation has completed. Alright, the installation has completed. That just took a few minutes. And the last thing you need to do to complete the installation is click Restart Now, and then click Done to reboot the machine. That's what I'm going to do right now. Alright, I rebooted the machine. The machine actually rebooted very fast, just a few seconds. It was actually very fast boot up. I wish I had got it on camera. Let me log in with my super secure password. Alright, and this is Manjaro, the Awesome Window Manager Edition. Let me hide that. The first thing I want to do before I get started, the ISO is old, right? It was 4 or 5 months old. So let me open up a terminal. I'm assuming super and enter probably opens a terminal. And it does. So first thing I want to do is run a sudo pacman dash capital S lowercase y lowercase u. Let's go ahead and see what kind of updates are available. Also complaining about VirtualBox guest editions. I'll ignore that for now until we do this update. So it looks like we got to update the Arch Linux keyring. So once that updates itself, then it'll give us the rest of the updates. Alright, search starting full system upgrade. So it's going to upgrade NVIDIA. Of course, this is a VM. I don't really care about the NVIDIA drivers. All right, so this is what I'm talking about with old ISOs. So this ISO, again, was about 4 or 5 months old, and already 453 packages need to be updated. This is a rolling release. This is why you don't want an ISO over 2 or 3 months, really, on a rolling release. That's why distros like Arch Linux typically release a new ISO, every 2 or 3 months. It's because you can't let it get quite this old. This is a little old. The one they're actually advertising on the Manjaro website, 18.0, is 11 months old. I promise you, that would have been like 1,000 package update and almost certainly would break something. Even updating 453 packages, this is risky. Don't be surprised if I run this update and reboot the machine and I have some issues, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to let that run for a few minutes. Alright, so I went through that massive update and rebooted the machine. Let's log in and see if everything works. It looks like everything's working just fine. So we're back in Awesome Window Manager. So the first thing I want to do is actually see what is installed by default. The easiest way to do that here in a tiling window manager like Awesome is probably to do that in the terminal, maybe do a query with Pacman. But the great thing about Awesome is because it's so new user friendly for a tiling window manager, it actually has a menu system. So I actually can go through the menu system. So we have terminal. Now, what terminal does it have by default? The LX terminal. That is an interesting choice. The LX terminal is an okay terminal, but I think most tiling window manager users probably would prefer something like URXVT or Xterm, or maybe something like Termite. Probably all would be better than LX Term. I don't think most tiling window manager users would opt for LX Term if you ask them. So I think that's a bit of a strange choice. Then we have browser. Please tell me that's not Epiphany. I hope that's Firefox. I'm worried about it though. No, it is Firefox. Okay. Strange that it didn't say Firefox. It just said browser. And I was thinking, like GNOME has those generic names. It's probably GNOME's browser, which is Epiphany, which is just hot garbage. But no, this is Firefox. Firefox Quantum 69.0.2. By the way, I need to close these windows. And if I didn't know the key combinations in Awesome Window Manager, which I don't know what key combinations they're using in Manjaro's Awesome Edition, but I do notice that their windows have a toolbar with window decorations. It has a close button here. If I hit it, it'll close the window. And same thing with closing that one. So that is interesting. Let me actually play around and see if I can figure out the default key combinations, though the key bindings. Typically in most tiling window managers, most people set up super plus enter to get us a terminal. And that is what is the key binding here in Manjaro Awesome. I like to do Super Shift C to close windows. That's not what they're using. Super Shift K for kill. No. How about just Super X? Super X. So those are kind of like the three typical closing or killing key bindings that people use in tiling window managers. Me personally, I'll probably change that to what I like to use, which is Super Shift C, but Super X, as long as I know what it is for the purposes of this video, I'm good. All right, back to the menu system. We have files and the default file manager. Let's see, we got a graphical file manager. This looks to be Thunar, I'm guessing. Thunar is not my favorite file manager, but it's okay. Me personally, if I'm going to do a GUI file manager, I probably choose PCManFM personally. But again, tiling window manager, I'm probably good with a terminal-based file manager such as Ranger, VIFM, Midnight Commander, heck, or just use the shell for a file manager. And then under accessories, we have a lot of the XFCE accessories. Their archive manager, Catfish, again, Thunar, which is XFCE's file manager. So it looks like they're using a lot of XFCE mousepad, which is XFCE's plain text editor. Compton, which is our compositor. It's what gives us fancy effects and animations. Transparency, if we want to do like transparent terminals. So you need a compositor to do that. We have a graphics category, and we have the latest GIMP here. So this should be GIMP 2.10. I want to say the latest version of GIMP is 2.10.2. I could be wrong about that. Let's see. Taking a minute to load. I go to the Help tab and go to About. GIMP 2.10.12 is the latest version. GIMP's a fantastic program. It's what I use to create all the artwork for my YouTube channel, the thumbnails, and the YouTube header and everything. Alright, back to the menu system under Internet. Again, Firefox was the browser. HexChat for IRC chat is here. Lynx. Now this is the Lynx terminal browser, but this is not the Lynx browser that I prefer and I made videos about, which is LYNX. That's the original Lynx browser. This is Lynx, LINKS. It's the inferior Lynx, to be honest. You guys wanting a terminal-based web browser, yeah, install Lynx, LYNX. It's the oldest active web browser still in development, and it's fantastic. Also under the internet category, we have Pigeon for internet messaging. Thunderbird is our email client. Transmissions our BitTorrent client. And again, we just have a generic web browser. Again, that's, I think, just a link to Firefox again. And we got multiple links to Firefox. Under multimedia, we have Audacious for an audio player. Audacious is a minimal, lightweight audio player. It's pretty nice. I've played around with Audacious a little bit in the past. Personally, if I'm going to install GTK minimal audio player, music player, I probably do Dead Beef, one of my favorites. We also have XFburn for burning disk in multimedia. We also have MPV for our media player. We have the full LibreOffice suite. That's an interesting choice, but again, the ISO for this was about 2 gigs in size. If they wanted to bring down the size of that ISO, they probably could get rid of most of the Office suite, or maybe get rid of the entire Office suite. I'm not sure if shipping with, the entire LibreOffice suite is really warranted. Then you have various settings. Your typical like XFCE settings stuff is in here. Under System Tools, we have Add Remove Software. Let's see what that launches. All right, this is PAMAC. So Arch, by default, Arch does not have a graphical package manager. You do everything in the terminal at the command line with Pacman, but there are 2 GUI package management tools available in Manjaro. You have PAMAC, and you also have a program called Octopi somewhere in here. I may have to search around for it because I doubt it's called Octopi here. Yeah, I wonder if I have a run launcher somewhere that I could... Now, to figure out how to launch a run launcher, though, what I need to do is actually launch this. So this is the hotkeys for Awesome Window Manager. You see, Control Super R reloads, awesome. Super Shift Q quits, awesome. Super S shows help, so Super S. So that's how you keep bringing that up anytime you're confused about a key binding. Super S. I kind of like that. All right, launcher. Control Super Escape launches Rofi, so they're using Rofi as a run launcher. So Control Super Escape. Wow, so that loads really slow, and the font is not right. Super Shift, let me escape. Super Control Escape. So Rofi is broken here. So that's unfortunate. To be honest, I'd probably just install dmenu myself anyway, but out of the box, I mean, for a new user, they're going to be they're going to be in a bad way if they actually want to use the Rofi run launcher, because obviously it's broken here. All right, by default in Awesome Window Manager, the master and stack layout is typically the default layout. So why is Rofi launching? So a little bit of strangeness going on here, and it's kind of slow. I am in a VM, but I gave this VM 2 cores of my CPU, which is more than enough. I have a Threadripper. I gave it 4 gigs of RAM, but it does seem a little sluggish. It should not be this slow. Anyway, so that's the master and stack layout. Let's see what some other layouts are. I'm going to open up, I'll open up about 4 windows. One thing what's weird about the graphical glitching, I wonder if this thing is using Wayland as the default display server. It may be. Anyway, so it looks like they're using a floating mode. Then tile bottom, which is like a master and stack mode, but the stack is at the bottom. And then we have a typical grid layout, another kind of grid layout. And then we have a max mode, which is your full screen or your monocle mode. And then we have the magnifier mode, or some people call it the one window front mode, where you got a grid layout or a column layout in the back, but the window with focus is always front and center. And then you're back to your traditional master and stack mode. Well, using a tiling window manager without a proper run launcher is very tough, right? It's nearly impossible. So because Rofi is broken, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type super enter to get back to the terminal. And I'm going to go ahead and install dmenu, which is another run launcher. It's actually the one I prefer. Rofi's fine. I would have used it had it worked, but since it doesn't work, let's go ahead and install dmenu. And then I need to add a key binding to run dmenu. So I need to open up the awesome window manager config. If I right click to get that menu system, we have a category for awesome, and then we have edit config. And let's see what this opens in. It opens in mousepad. This is my awesome window manager config in mousepad. Now let me search. So find Rofi. Let's find the key binding for Rofi. There it is. And I'll use the same key binding, which is super control escape, but instead of having that launching Rofi, I'm gonna now have that launch dmenu. We'll change that to dmenu. I think it's dmenu_run is the command. And if I go up here and save, I think it was Super Shift R to restart awesome. Could be wrong about that. No, that was not it. You know what? Super S to bring up the menu. Let's see, to restart awesome. Control Super R. There we go. And now, what was the key combination again? Let me go back and check on it. Super Control Escape. Super Control Escape. Oh, now we got dmenu at the top. And now we've got a proper run launcher. Let me escape. Close that window. Well, I guess I could Super X since I don't save that. All right, now that I have dmenu, let me make sure it's working with the key combination. Yeah, now I have dmenu, and now I can launch anything I want to launch. So, I can launch mousepad again if I wanted to get back into mousepad. Super X to close it. All right, so now that I have a run launcher, I'm good. That's again, it's unfortunate that Rofi was so horribly broken. Anyway, that's just me spending a little bit of time with Manjaro's Awesome Edition here in a VM. I probably won't spend too much more time with it because honestly, if I was going to use Awesome Window Manager, I have my own configs on GitLab. I just pull down my own configs, use my own programs, because to be honest, there's not much that they're using that I would use. Like, I have different programs I would use. I'm not going to use Mousepad as my text editor. I'm not going to use LXterm as the terminal. I'm not going to use the various XFCE utilities they're using. I don't use any of that stuff. So I'd probably just install my own programs and pull down my own configs from GitLab. But you guys that are interested in a pre-configured awesome window manager, I would say this is pretty good. The one thing I hate, they need an updated ISO. If you don't have an updated ISO, I mean, you're just completely screwed here, because that 5-month ISO involved a lot of updates, and that update may have broke Rofi. Rofi may have been working had I tried it in the live environment before that 500 package update or whatever. And again, if you go to their website and go to the downloads page, the awesome edition on that downloads page is 11 months old. Don't try to install that. It's not going to work for you. It's going to be completely boogered. Anyway, before I go, this show was made possible by Ansem, First Chris, Second Chris, Daniel, David, DJ, Donnie, Dylan, George, Corbinian, Mitchell, Natek, Philip, Rob, Robert, Sam, Sean, Stephanie, and Willie. They're the producers of the show, my highest tiered patrons over on Patreon. Without these guys, this episode about Manjaro's Awesome Window Manager Edition would not have been possible. The show is also brought to you by all those other fine ladies and gentlemen, all those names you see on the screen that help support my work over on Patreon. I want to sincerely thank each and every one of those guys. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider doing so. You'll find me at DistroTube over on Patreon. Alright guys, peace.